Hey everyone, and welcome back to ColdplayXtra Live. My name is Abhi. I'm here with Ian again. How's it going, Ian?
Super great, thanks. Excited for the show. Just wanted to say a quick thank you to everyone watching. Like, we love making this stuff happen. It's a huge honor for us. We're always working hard behind the scenes to make this kind of thing happen. So, really appreciate when it does come around days like these. So yeah, make sure you subscribe to our channels. Keep supporting us like you always do. Thumbs up, hearts, emojis, all that in the chat, wherever you're watching, all that good stuff. And yeah, we look to bring you more great things like we do today here on Coldplay Extra Live.
Absolutely. Well said. And your support definitely keeps us going, as always. And today is a special show for us here on ColdplayXtra Live. We're incredibly fortunate and so happy to welcome one of, if not the greatest, live music concert filmmakers of all time. He's made incredible live concert films for the likes of Adele, Taylor Swift, Harry Styles, Ariana Grande, Elton John, The Rolling Stones, Paul McCartney, and of course, everyone's favorite band, the one and only Coldplay. And millions of Coldplay fans around the world will recognize his work with the band as he's been able to transform some of their best performances and career highlights into iconic films such as Coldplay Live 2012 from the Mylo Xyloto era, Ghost Stories Live 2014, Everyday Life Live in Jordan, and most recently, of course, Coldplay Music of the Spheres live at River Plate, which just completed its cinema release screenings yesterday all around the world. Thousands of fans got to see it, and there were some fantastic scenes from around the world. Everyone enjoying the show. So we're going to get into all of that and more. Let's welcome the three-time Grammy-nominated, Emmy-winning, BAFTA-winning film director, the GOAT of live concert filmmaking, Mr. Paul Dugdale. Welcome, Paul. So happy to see you.
Abby, you need to be my agent. That was. I've never had an intro like that. That was incredible. I need to write that all
Well, I
that down.
wrote it.
Oh well, thanks to both of you. It's nice to be here and good to speak to you both. And yeah, I'm excited to do this. Great. Thanks for having me.
We're so happy to have you. And first things first, congratulations on the new film, Live at River Plate. It's absolutely stunning. We both got the chance to see it in the cinemas, obviously, like so many other people did, like in the chat. And thank you so much for spending a bit of your Monday with us. Let me just start off with this. How has this last week been for you personally, releasing the film in cinemas and then seeing all the reactions come through from all around the world?
Well, it's really amazing. So like obviously we filmed the original show in filmed the actual show in October, and before that we have a big long pre-production period planning it and working out what we're going to do. Then we edit it between October and now, so it's been like a really long process. I mean, it always is kind of like this, but like it's and the first time round we didn't really get to watch it because we're in it, we're doing it, and didn't you obviously we looked at what people were saying about it afterwards, but couldn't really enjoy it in the moment. So this has been a really nice thing and a amazing payoff for us. And when I say us, I mean like the whole crew, because we did when it was screened on the 19th, we got a big group of our team together that were out there in Argentina, and we all watched it together, had a few glasses of wine, and enjoyed the kind of. It was so nice just watching it with other people instead of being in an edit suite and just watching it with the same faces. So yeah, it's been a joy. I've really enjoyed it, and for me, it's always like the big payoff to see everyone's reaction, and especially being in a cinema. I've had a few theatrical releases, but this is a really nice one, and I have to say I don't think I've ever received so many messages and yeah, lovely notes on the socials. So yeah, it's been an amazing little run. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hi, Paul. Thank you so much for coming on our show. New film is wonderful. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Your relationship with Coldplay is its 11th year now, which is like a lifetime in showbiz. They obviously love working with you. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about how this whole adventure of working with Coldplay began 11 years ago?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, obviously, the first thing I did was the Live 2012, which we shot in Paris and a few other locations, obviously. How did it start? I don't quite remember. I think we sort of kind of slightly hustled with it. The people I was working with at the time, sort of knew people at the label, and still good friends of mine, Julie and Stefan, and and they kind of put me in front of them, and I made a kind of I remember making this like little kind of taster tape of like, this is what it could look like, and had loads of effects and scribbles and stuff. When we did 2012, we did lots of overlays and got Chris to write out the lyrics, and it was really it was just a really creative project, but really huge as well. It's tricky doing these stadium shows because sometimes you can get so distracted by the scale of everything that you forget to kind of really show the nice detail and intimate parts, you know. And so that was what we really honed in on that one, and yeah, so it was kind of like that. I think we just kind of hustled for it a little bit, and yeah, luckily they said, yeah, okay, you're the guy. I remember first meeting them. I think, where were we? I was maybe in the States or somewhere, but I remember chatting to them in a dressing room and it being really, yeah, just amazing and a real relief. I think I've said before in an interview, like it's just a relief to, you know, I've always loved Coldplay, and since I was, you know, 17 or whatever when that first album came out, and so you're kind of like, oh, I really hope these guys, you know, don't suck, and they're nice people, and they were obviously just really lovely and great, and yeah, so our relationship is fantastic, and yeah, I'm very grateful for it, and it's so nice that it's lasted. And what's really great in my business is that when you working with artists, there's a lot of first times, and so if you imagine you're kind of collaborating on something creative, it's a lot of working each other out, and so we're at this point now where we're really deep in this amazing creative relationship, and so every time, you know, it's not every day, it kind of comes around every year or few years, but when it happens, it's amazing because there's a nice trust, and we're kind of on each other's, you know, we're working on the same hymn sheet, so yeah, it's a joy.
It's amazing story there, and you've been, you know, ever present since 2012, which is, I love that little detail you said there about Chris's handwriting, especially Hurts Like Heaven. A lot of fans really love that. I'm sure we're already getting comments on that in the chat. The new film, Live at River Plate, so great to watch in cinemas last week. I'm not sure what you did with The Scientist, but that made me cry in cinemas. You nailed that one so well. I didn't think I'd cry. You know, I'm not really the go to a concert and cry person, but that happened. So,
oh man, that's amazing.
Absolutely beautiful. As was the live broadcast back in November that so many people enjoyed. Two very different types of operations for you, the director. Can you give us a sense of what it's like for you, like preparing for that live broadcast show, and then yeah, your own directors having the time and peace of mind to know I can get it exactly how I want it now?
Yeah, it's so tricky. I mean, like I have sort of spinning two plates when I direct. Not all my shows are live broadcasts. Sometimes we're filming it live, and then we know that we're just going to take everything away and edit it. And and with this, obviously, it was both. And the live one was a really big deal because it was global cinema thing, like record breaking amount of cinemas, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of pressure for me, but also a lot of pressure for my team and the camera guys and the vision mixers, everyone, to try and get it and not mess it up like in the moment, because, you know, we want a nice, clean, good looking show. So yeah, there's sort of two brains where you're filming it and you're in the moment, but you're kind of also kind of like, look, I was sort of saying to the camera operators, if we cut away from you when you're doing a nice shot, if we cut away, just keep going, because we'll probably find that in the edit. If it's, you know, if it wasn't the right time to cut and we could have stayed on it, then we'll find it. So yeah, it's quite a sort of a strange hybrid, really, and so it's really, really intense when you're doing the live bit, and exciting. Like, I really enjoy it, and it's you know, it's high pressure but high excitement, and a great thing when you finish and it feels good. And, you know, we've got you know, when we finish, we obviously like everyone looks at what's everyone saying, did it go down well, and all that, and yeah, it felt really nice, and we got some really lovely comments, and people seem to like it. And then with the sort of this version, it's just fantastic getting to be able to sculpt it and work it and make it a bit more dramatic, because you can, you know, we had man, I'm trying to remember exactly how many cameras. There was a ton of cameras, so we kind of shot with, I think it was like 24 over 2 nights, and then we shot a couple more, a few more cameras on nights after that, but only like, a couple a night. So I think we ended up with probably, I should have had this information for you, but I think we probably ended up with like 60 angles to choose from or something like that. And so, there's so many factors. It depends what song what it means is we can just try and help the drama and the emotion of every track. And just my job is purely to like serve the band and the music and try and get the music to like land harder. And so, Ian, when you said that you cried during The Scientist, that's like a total win for me. I love that because it's like it kind of like the magic trick worked, the music is incredible it has such a wide spectrum, the set list of emotion. And so if you're a director, it's incredible because it means you can go really hard on People of the Pride, and then you can go really like soft and intimate on Beret, for example. I was really surprised, in a few of our team, when we watched the film back in the cinema, we were kind of like, wow, Beret really hit this time. Like I'd seen it like a million times, obviously, like cutting it and doing notes and all of that stuff in post-production, and then I watched it there and I was like, whoa, I had a little tear in my eye, even after seeing it so much. So yeah, it's a really wonderful process and it's a lovely thing to have a second bite at the cherry. Like the live broadcast was great, but it's a really nice thing for a director to be able to like really get into the detail of it. So yeah, I'm very grateful to them.
Was that always the plan, to have two different things? Yeah,
I think so. Yes. Yeah. And I think just because it's good to like in the moment, and the live one is really great because it feels like everyone is sharing this experience around the world at the same time. But then it's important, I think, well, from my point of view anyway, as a director, to like have a sort of evergreen version, which is like it's almost like the vision of me and the band together, like and because they will input into that version and kind of they like we make it, show it to them, and then they will kind of steer us in the right direction and make sure that it's like a really firm representation of how they want that show to be, because it was an enormous show. Obviously, like the tour is just so incredible. They worked on the tour for so long, and I remember like speaking to Phil, and Phil was really he said to me, I'm going to be quite hard on you in the edit because this is really a like big tour for us, and it's a big, like, I think that they'd really worked hard on it, and so he in particular really wanted it to be right and make sure everything, all of the production stuff and obviously the essence of the energy of the shows were captured. So yeah, it was so it's, anyway, that's a long-winded way of answering your question, but yeah, it's mega to do both.
No, absolutely. And you've done an incredible job. Just going back to Baraye, that's something that got me in the theaters as well, because I was expecting the song, and when I heard it, it just hit so hard. But just going back, the show is obviously one of the most fun shows Coldplay has ever put together. You can laugh, you can sing, you can cry, you can dance, and that's just in the first 15 minutes of the concert. So with so much variety in one show, was there something you have to get, having to pull things back towards or reinforce towards in the editing process to make it feel like one cohesive film?
No, it's interesting, like, I mean, I know the music really well, so it's kind of like when I look at the set list, I can see like, okay, you know what it is. The first thing I kind of look at is like the pace of stuff, and a good show, any good show has a real like journey to it and a sort of a different pace. And so like, it's important for me that the films really change pace, and you feel that you sometimes filming music, everything can just kind of be the same, and it becomes a bit kind of coverage like. And so we're really sensitive to kind of honor what the intention of those songs is, hopefully.
Yeah.
So we knew, I guess, I don't think we didn't really do this, but to a certain extent, you can kind of go, okay, well, People of the Pride will be your peak madness, and something like The Scientist or Barrier, I suppose, but maybe or actually the scientist or human heart probably are like the slowest kind of just bed in, and we don't need to cut the cameras and just want to watch what's happening, you know.
Yeah.
And there's something really powerful to that. And so the texture of it, just like I said before, all we want to do is just kind of support the music. And so the pace and the feeling of the music is different. And so the filmmaking of those clips should be different, you know, not vastly different because we're working the same palette, but we just try and just lean into whatever the band have given us, you know, as the script, and try and help it and complement it. That's the aim of the game.
Absolutely.
Awesome. The use of drones, Paul, has taken filmmaking to another level. You know, this film has some incredible footage from drones, and you've had a little bit of that with, I'd say, even 2012 with the spider cam flying over the top, getting the wristbands. We've had some lovely drone work on Everyday Life in Jordan as well. But things really kicked up a notch this tour and this era, especially like first thing that comes to mind is higher power at the Brits, you know, and all the way through to these Argentina shows where you're literally flying through parts of the stage now. It's incredible. How do you plan for those drone shots? Is it something you keep an eye on, like what they can do technically a lot? And most importantly, how many have you broken?
How shall I answer that? So the drone wise, like I was really proud to during that, you know, like we were saying earlier on, the during that Roundhouse show, not Roundhouse show, the recording for American Idol, I think was one of the first times, or the first time I'd seen it in a multi-camera setup using a drone and inside and flying around the band and around all the planets and stuff. So that was like our first sort of jaunt into it, and it was really great. And so yeah, this was like a natural progression. The Everyday Life drones were big, like, you know, big drones that would really hurt you. The ones that we used we used two different types for River Plate, but one was a big one that flew around the outside of the stadium mostly, and then we had some like little racing drones, little FPV drones that would fly around. And again, it was kind of like, the thing with stuff like that, with technology like that, is that it can just get boring if you overuse it. So we were like, our main thing was like, okay, drones in this song, but let's not have them for this one and this one. Then they'll be back for this one and this one, and then you really hold it back. You just purposefully don't have any of that stuff in. And another kind of really the secret weapon with this film was I'd found on Instagram this guy called Dodsey, right? And Dodsey is a 360 camera operator, has a huge, really, really long metal pole that he extends out, and it has a tiny camera on the end. And he is like he's running as fast as Chris up and down the thrust, and he's running all like in the like the sections of the barrier like that separate the front and the back and all that kind of stuff, running around and swinging this pole. And that is so a lot of the shots are actually 360 cam. There's a lot of drone in there for sure, and the drone shots are incredible, but he did a lot of that stuff that looks like a drone, but it meant that we could get really close to the band, and the lenses are really wide. But yeah, I mean, the drones were amazing. The drones, like, you know, were flying through fire, and we were kind of like, look, try and break some of these cameras, you know, like we want to push it hard. So that was a kind of especially for Dodsey actually, with the pole cam, we were kind of like, try and break a camera. Like I think we bought him, maybe he had, I can't quite remember the sitch, but basically he had a camera ready to break, and he had a backup that we were trying to, like, you know, really push it. I quite enjoy stuff like that because it feels, you know, it should be that kind of just pushing it that hard. But yeah, it's fun. It's really fun. And yeah, the look of those cameras really, I think, really kind of informed the aesthetic of this film a lot. And you know, it's to show that as you said, the production is just so incredible that it's sort of made for it to be shown like that, and again to try and make the sort of metaphorical barrier between the band and the audience should become invisible, and you just you're one moment you're on stage and without cutting you're over the audience, and that's kind of a good metaphor for kind of our whole intention with this, where you're like trying to make the audience and the band one, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I love that answer about breaking drones purposely, because then you don't have any limits at all. It's fantastic. And you know,
No,
obviously, the big screen cinema experience allows you to be fully immersed into the show and enjoy it as much as possible without physically being there. That's as close as you can probably really get. And you guys took things to a whole new level with ScreenX and 4DX versions for this film, and you know, across the board, and for myself as well, People of the Pride was definitely a highlight. It was a really fun, hilarious experience, especially in 4D, because you're really going crazy. So which song, in these situations, which song was the easiest to put together, and which one did you have to maybe fight more with for this film?
well, I have to say, with that stuff, the 4DX, didn't experience it, so I'm really glad that it was good and you liked it.
Yeah.
That one I didn't see at all. The ScreenX stuff was put together by a team out in Korea, and our main thing with that stuff was that we'd seen some tests and we found it, I don't know, not hard to watch, but there's a fine line where you're kind of like, this is really great, or this is like just too much. And the film's quite long, and the set of the music set is quite long, so we just didn't want to completely bombard everyone all of the time. I think that was the important thing with that stuff. And so, like you just said, People of the Pride was great because we wanted it to feel completely reckless and crazy, and like you don't quite know which way is up. Whereas there are other tracks that are much calmer and kind of it's almost disappears a little bit. So that was really our main brief for them, and I thought they did a really fantastic job. Like what I couldn't get my head around, and still can't really, was how they managed to get pictures that are our picture in the middle, but then it just still kind of spreads out to the side. It's just so clever. It was amazing. Yeah, so it's a really good experience to be part of. I'd never done presented a film in that way before, and I really loved it. I was dubious at first, but they did it really sensitively, and they were sort of as sensitive as we are with the music. They were as sensitive to how it was, and how, not overdoing it on the sides. Again, it's just the same thing really, like what I was saying with the drone. It's like knowing when not to overdo it is really important, because you can kind of easily get carried away with that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was great. And so again, it's a show that is really brilliant to be that immersed in. And so I'm really glad. I was really enjoying watching people's reactions on Instagram. Seeing everyone like enjoying those moments was really killer, because I thought they were good too.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely excellent. Incredible stuff.
Good.
There was a few moments in the film that fans could recognize from the live broadcast back in November. The drone drop during A Sky Full of Stars being one of them. Like, that was such an iconic clip back then, and I'm happy to see it still here. But this new film felt so much more fresher on top, and it's because you're saying, like, you get to pick and choose which ones you select from. I loved in Adventure of a Lifetime, there's the shot on Guy's base as well, things like that. But on a average, or as a rough percent, how much footage did you think was kept from the initial live broadcast versus what is in the end product, the end film?
Do you know what? I don't know. I'm not sure I know how.
Not much.
I can answer that. No, I mean, it was interesting with the drones, because the drones is a really tricky thing to do with a racing drone, with an FPV drone. You can't really broadcast it live, and so what we did was we shot the show before the live show,
right,
banked all of that stuff, selected all the shots overnight, and so that we knew that there were shots coming up that were good, and then we could play them in to the live broadcast. That's the only way we could do it, because in actual fact what happens is that drone is like that flying around, and they have to run some software to like smooth it all out. and so it's just impossible to incorporate live. So that was our kind of workaround. So all of the drone stuff, I guess, probably ended up because we already knew that stuff was good in the live broadcast. But the rest of it, I really don't know. I mean, I guess like in theory, like in the moment, we're kind of you know, we're just looking for emotion and looking for the band interacting with each other and playing their hearts out. So if there's a good moment, we will have cut it up in the live version, and hopefully, in theory, it would still be good for the posted one. But actually putting a number on it, I've got no idea. Yeah, I have no idea. But it's interesting. I'd like to know. I saw something that someone had put online, which had, I think it was like Sky Full of Stars live and Sky Full of Stars that they put out from the film, which is slightly terrifying for me to see like the difference. But yeah, so I guess that's probably quite a good measure. I don't know if that's still up or if it got taken down, but yeah, you kind of get a sense for how much is there. But yeah, that drone shot which spun over is just like next level amazing, and yeah, so that had to stay in.
Absolutely. No, that's fans like us who then overanalyze things, and that's kind of we like start comparing stuff. But definitely, I think across the board, everyone agrees that this one is like a new level that you've reached from the live broadcast. And Paul, you made some incredible films and worked with almost all the greatest musicians of our times. Yeah, and you've won awards for your work, and you made yourself the go-to guy for concert films. And obviously, each artist has have their own themes, how they want to do things. But what is it about working with Coldplay that seems to work so well between you and their team?
Um, uh, I don't know. I mean, like I was saying earlier, I think a lot of it is just trust. You do something creative and it, like right at the start, and it comes out really great. And I guess I hope anyway, that we are kind of just on the same wavelength, and their music is so so emotional and speaks to you on so many different levels. It's like I said, it's such a spectrum of color of different emotions and whatever. And that is just what I love to explore when we film stuff. That's what makes it fun for me. It's not just like a music lesson. I don't really care about seeing, like, apart from those shots of Guy, seeing like tight shots of strings. You know what I mean? It doesn't really give me anything. I like to see emotion and faces and relationships. So I guess like that's quite a good fit, I suppose, for them and me. And I guess just over the years, it's just like I said, it's like a level of trust. You just kind of start working with people, and I mean, I can't really speak for them, obviously, but I hope that we're kind of on the same wavelength in terms of like how to present this music. It's a really tricky thing. It's a lot of responsibility, especially when it's always responsibility, but especially when you like the band and you like them as people and you like the music, you really want to do it right. You want to, you don't want to let them down, and especially when it's new music each time. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it's that. I mean, we, on a personal level, we just love working with them because it's like, it's always so ambitious. It's always something new. The music changes all the time. It's just like a dream. So yeah, and to do shows of this scale is so rare, really, in the scheme of things, that yeah. So I don't know. I can't really answer for them, but that's how I feel anyway. It's yeah, it's just yeah, it's a real pleasure.
What's Phil's way of telling you he doesn't really like something, though?
He'll go, Douglas, I'm not quite sure if I like that. But like I'm like so open to that conversation, because all I want to do is I see it as like me serving the music. And so if the authors, the people that made that music don't see it in that way, then I'm going to change it. I want to make it how you want it, And we're really lucky. Like, I think we showed this. We spent a couple of days with Phil in LA working on this towards the end of the project, and we really didn't change much. We tinkered with the opening a little bit to get that right, but other than that, there really weren't a ton of notes at all. It was like really small stuff, which is great, and kind of how I would expect it to be. After this time, I would be really sad if they were like, oh, this isn't good, like, or that song doesn't work, or something like that. So, yeah, it's really pretty easy. It feels, always feels good. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. We're going to move to our next section now, which is a little bit away from the film you just made, but hopefully it ties back in somewhere. You've been heavily involved with Coldplay since the start of the Music of the Spheres era. It's pretty much coming up 2 years since the first Higher Power music video dropped, with the alien hologram dancers and all this stuff. Bursting back onto the scene in such a big way, performance at the Brits. You was with them at that whole time. How exciting is it for you working with artists, maybe not even just Coldplay, because you've done it with other artists too, during those times where no one knows what the songs are like, they haven't been released, you might not have a crowd, you might not know if the crowd liked the song or how they might react to the song. It's just you listen to the song and you've got to try and picture how this might transfer.
Yeah,
how are those experiences? Because it's happened a few times with Coldplay as well.
Yeah, it's a good question, because what's weird is, imagine if your favorite band gives you an album and you're like, okay, which of these is the single? And so that's how kind of happened to us. Not it has happened with Coldplay, but with other artists as well. You're kind of like, okay, I need to really try see if it's like an amazing test of taste to go, okay, what is my judgment? Which do I think is the hit? Or like, which 3 are the hits from this album? Like, and by hits I mean like which are going to be the singles? Yeah. And seeing if you're right. And yeah, I mean, I've had some really amazing, like with Everyday Life in particular, like when we were trying to work out, like Phil was trying to describe to me and Misty Buckley, the had the show designer, what it was kind of about and what the album was about and the tone of it and that kind of thing. And so we went down to where they were recording it in this country pile somewhere in the middle of nowhere, in the countryside somewhere, and they were just recording. They were just like set up in this giant living room, and that was just like, wow, man, like, it's just, as a music lover, it's just mind blowing to me to be anywhere near that process, And so hearing tracks early, I remember like they sent me during the Ghost Stories, when we were prepping for that, during Ghost Stories, we were hearing quite a lot of early music, and I got a really early mix of Sky Full of Stars, and obviously, like, in comparison with all the music they'd done at that point, it felt really like out there, and it was like, wow, man, this is like, it's totally different. It's like mind blowing, and kind of. But what's amazing is you don't, because you're the only person that has heard it other than the band, there's no one to talk to about it. No one, you can't see any reviews. You don't know any other opinions. And so it's a really rare thing, I guess. It's a very, very privileged position to be in, where you're like, you're hearing something that's going to be enormous, worldwide recognized, but you're hearing it completely unbiased of anything. You know what I mean? Like, no one said anything about this song. You don't know any judgment of it. You don't know if the fans like it. You don't know if critics like it. You just see it for what it is, and it's whether you like it or what your interpretation of it is. So yeah, it's amazing. It's just amazing. Like a real such a privileged thing to do. And I've had that with a few artists, but yeah, Coldplay in particular, especially with Everyday Life, we really kind of got into that pretty early, and I guess partly because it was like that broadcast, that live broadcast from Jordan, was such a big part of the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, just amazing. Just a real proper, like, those sort of experiences are like beyond career experiences. Do you know what I mean? They're like really meaningful life experiences, like incredible to be part of the creation of something. And I'm a big art lover and a music lover, so it's like it just feels incredible to be anywhere near that. So yeah, it's a blast. It's a trip.
Absolutely. I mean, I can only imagine just picturing myself in a studio with Coldplay and when they're working on new songs.
Yeah.
Out of body experience for a fan like me. And coming to fans, one piece of work that came from that time, like early Music of the Spheres era time, one piece of work was Coloratura, recorded at the Roundhouse. It was teased but never fully released, and Coldplay fans around the world have been, would asking for it and would love to know what are the chances of that ever being released.
Yeah, I wondered whether you could ask me about this. It's really tricky. I'm not quite sure how to answer this. I was thinking about it a lot, and I was thinking, I don't really know what to say. I don't think I can really say anything about it other than it exists, and it's really good. That's not, but I don't think I can really tell you anything else about that.
Okay.
Yeah,
we don't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Phil
No,
said he knows people want to see it, so.
yeah, you got to, get everyone to speak to me.
All right.
But yeah, I mean,
the Avengers can assemble again.
But that was a really fun, like, being at that little time at the Roundhouse was amazing because it was just kind of just on the tail end of COVID, and like I said, we did that American Idol thing, and we did that, and we did the Higher Power video, which was in the car park. So like all of this really creative stuff happening all at the same time, all like, I don't know how long we were there, like maybe like 4 days or something. But especially off the back of COVID, which had been so kind of, I'd done a few projects during that time, but I hadn't really been able to see many people or be out in venues or that kind of thing a lot. So it was just a really great time and exciting because it was the first time we were hearing this music. And anyway, so yeah, so sorry to not be able to say much about it, but yeah, it exists. So you know what to do.
One day maybe.
It exists and it's good. So that's more information than we had before this interview. This is great.
Well, it's good in my opinion. Yeah. It's good in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. It might not be for everyone, but it's there somewhere.
No worries. No worries. We appreciate you either way, Paul. But we have to ask, do you have a favorite Coldplay song, music video, era, tour?
Well, the music video wise, I said this to Phil not long ago, actually. Like, Yellow just completely changed my life. Like, when Yellow came out, I was like late teens, and I just couldn't believe that something that looked so simple was actually going from night to day. And like, it was just, I'm a big fan of music videos with like a single idea, not that just chops around all over the place, and it's just got like one, and it was just perfection, it's just, and you couldn't imagine it any other way. I know there were like lots of different ways they were going to do it, and that was kind of all Chris's idea, and it's just a work of genius. So that's my, like, video wise, I know it's really like a bit obvious to say Yellow, but it is Yellow. Like, it's amazing. And song wise, it's tough. I think I said in an interview that I'd done previously, like, my songs change all the time. Like, I think I gave a list of 5, and it was like Politic, Arabesque. What were the others? I can't remember. Maybe one from Parachutes. But let's say Politic today. Like, that's like I remember, like, just off the back of Parachutes. Again, just being a super fan, like as a kid, like just buzzing off that, going, oh my God, like they've completely switched it. They've changed it, completely changed their identity. And it felt so exciting and hardcore. And in the run up to the River Plate show, I was watching shows. I saw some of the shows in Wembley. I saw quite a few different ones to try and, again, to like get my head around the show and be in different positions and see how people were reacting and where's best to capture all these different things from. And but yeah, one of them, it was Politic, and they didn't play it every night on that little run in Wembley. But well, as I'm sure you know, but yeah, I just buzzed off that when they played that. I was like, I sort of lost professional in work mode and was just like, yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, so let's say Politic.
That's brilliant. That's a fan answer right there. Well, Paul, I know you have a hard deadline in a couple of minutes, but I'm going to get to the next couple of questions really quickly. I know you're a busy man. We know you always have something lined up. What is your future looking like for you personally? That's the first one. And the second one, the number one question that we got sent in from fans was, and so many people are dying to know. Are we likely to see the Live in River Plate released on DVD, Blu-ray, streaming anytime soon?
Do you know? I don't know the answer to that. That's another Phil question, really. Yeah, I don't know. I hope so. I hope so, and you know, it exists, and so it would make sense for them to do it. But I don't know. I don't know that. So yeah, that's probably a question for them. For me, like I have just had like the craziest kind of 8 months, really, just really intensive work, and really, really creative, and just sort of like an amazing period of time in my career where we're just doing these enormous shows, and some of them haven't been announced, haven't sort of, well, obviously haven't come out, but yeah, haven't been announced or anything like that, and they're amazing films, like they're almost finished. So I've just done like a really big busy bit, and the next kind of couple of months at least, I hope, will be a little calmer, and then yeah, over the summer there's some good projects lined up, and yeah, just, you know, more of the same. I just really love going to work every day, you know. Like, I'm so lucky that I get to do music and film in one hit. It's both my sort of passions, photography and music, like everything that I love. So yeah, just more of the same, and but every time it kind of exploring different music and artists and different genres, and yeah, every show being slightly different, you know. And even for me, having done it for so long now, it's still so exciting to be working with other artists, new artists, different types of music. Yeah, and so it's always a new challenge, and always a new you know, emotional avenue to explore with this stuff. So yeah, I hope that it will just keep continuing like that. We'll see.
Yeah, we hope so too. As fans of your work, we obviously love seeing everything that you're doing, even non-Coldplay related. So we're really looking forward. Our last question, and I'll hurry this up, is a fan submission that we got from Marty, who's in the Philippines, and he asks, "Hello, Paul. I'm an aspiring film student who's about to graduate by the end of the year. You know, one of my dream projects is to direct a concert/musical film. How and where do I start pursuing this dream in this industry?" And, you know, follow up would be like, what advice would you probably give to your younger self?
Yeah, okay.
That's just starting out.
Well, I can give you a really, really long answer on that, but there's one like super important thing. So when I started off, I kind of slightly cheated. My father was a camera operator, so when I very first started, he kind of helped. I sort of, you know, did work experience with him, and I carried boxes and made tea and all that kind of stuff. Then I was a runner off my own back, and then I was a camera assistant, and then I was a cameraman briefly, and then I was a director. But the crucial thing in all of that was, while I was doing that stuff, I used to play in a band. I used to play drums, a band called Chineapples. Big shout out to Chineapples, the biggest band in London that never made it. And when we along the way, I met a lot of musicians. We were playing lots of gigs, and so I was like, well, I'm just going to start filming these like people, like, and one of those guys was a guy called Kid Harpoon, and Kid Harpoon was a friend, and like we played on the same bills, and I started touring with him and filming him. But like when I was filming, this is like, it seems so ancient now, and it makes me feel so old, but like there were no camera phones. There wasn't even like a 5D, you know, like with a nice camera with a lens. We were filming literally on camcorders. That's all we had, and it was super cheap. Well, there was like no money whatsoever, but we just made stuff. So we were just filming stuff, and because of the music, it was, and we, you know, I had kind of hopefully all right taste in what we were making, what I was making. It was good, and then people watched it, and went, but I didn't know where it would go, right? So I was just making it because I loved it, and I made it because I loved his music, and I loved being around him and around musicians and around gigs and all of that stuff. It just excites me, and I just have a passion for it. So, but when I made it, it just so happened that he was on the same label as Adele, and then the label were like, XL Recordings were like, hey, do you mind doing a little thing for Adele? And this is when Adele was really like, hadn't sort of completely blown up yet. And then did a small thing, and then a bigger thing for her. And now, and so obviously, like now, my relationship with her is really, you know, we're doing enormous stuff together.
Yeah.
But it all started from just filming this small, tiny thing. And so, like, my advice is just make it, just do something, just film something, because if you'll have something that didn't exist before, and then you can show that to another band. Maybe they're a slightly bigger artist that you want to like work with, that you'd noticed, and they might take you on, and then that's a step up and a step up until you're working for a label or artist, or you become a videographer or whatever. But you have to just make something, and like even in that kind of, I mean, what I'm describing is like virtually, I think it was probably at the birth of YouTube. It's probably why we were doing it. We were like, oh, why don't we make a little thing to put on YouTube or something like that? Because it was so early on MySpace, actually. But that was so important, and it started everything for me. And also Kid Harpoon, my pal who I used to, you know, drive around in a transit with, is now you know, writes and produces all of Harry Styles' albums. He like just works with so many artists. He's in LA. I mean, he's amazing. So we're still good pals. And but he is also like, you know, has just like soared, and just through passion and you know, just both of us just love it and love music and love being around it. So yeah, that's my advice. Just make something, just however cheap and like easy it feels and is, just do it and then show it to people, and it will build. It will get bigger and bigger, hopefully.
That's absolutely awesome. Fantastic advice for all of us. Cool. Just do it. Don't be afraid of
yeah, exactly. Just do it. Just do it. And before I go, I just have to say, like, thank you so much to everyone who has sent a message or a tweet or an Instagram comment or sent me videos. We really, really buzz off it. And I forward stuff to the team. Like, it's an enormous team of people that make this film. I'm just one, you know, little player in an enormous, very talented team. So thanks to them, and thanks to everyone that has sent stuff through, because yeah, we really buzz off it, and it's so nice seeing people enjoy it. And yeah, you know, it makes it such a pleasure to be part of it all. So yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming on our show. Thank you.
A pleasure. No, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Thanks
a lot.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.